Foundation for allowing me to talk with you again. I first came here in 2010, so it's been 7 years of coming here every year. Today we are going to talk. I'm going to sing my own song. Usually a person on the path of yoga doesn't sing his song. But today I'm going to eat one chocolate and sing my song. The journey started very early when I was 17. And I first met Swami Vakil, and this was in 1975. I met him in 1975 and I started studying under him. And he was a very, very hard taskmaster. He built a small ashram in this small village called Madhavpur. And in 7 years, he trained us in a very different way. We were a few students with him. He would wake us up in the middle of the night, sometimes at 2 in the morning, put a shovel in our hands. Come on, we have to dig holes to plant trees. Until 6 in the morning, we will be digging holes. I traveled all over the country with him, and he would play all kinds of tricks. So we would have a reservation in a train to travel somewhere, and we would be sitting on the platform, and the rule was to reach 1 hour early before the train goes. And we would reach 1 hour early. Just when the train was about to come on the station, he would vanish somewhere. And we'd be wondering where he's gone. And then the train goes away and the train went away. And he would observe all our reactions. The basic art which the yogi learns is how not to react in any situation in life. And you see, now we have to go in a local train, we don't have any reservation. In those days, the local trains in India were just wooden benches. He would push us in the train because it was very difficult to get placed into the train, so he would push everybody into the train. And people would be sitting on the benches, one crowded on the other. He would ask everybody to remove their shoes from under the bench, and he would tell me, you go and sleep under the bench. And he trained me in every small thing in life in those 7 years. But when he left his body in 1982, I felt a deep void. And there was something in me which remained unfulfilled. For 8 to 9 months, every moment I would remember him, because every small thing in our life was him. And that is how you get attached to a teacher. In 1988, I was in Bombay and attending somebody's wedding, and somebody said, I'd been to this person's lecture. His name was Mr. Tawaya. He was a Parsi gentleman. And I said, would you like to attend his talk? So the next day I went for his talk, and he was talking on a way of breathing. And I'm wondering that I've been practicing meditation for so many years, more than 17, 18 years, and why should I learn breathing? But I could see that he had what I wanted. So I asked him, can I meet you at your home the next day? So he said, yes, you come. So I went to meet him and I said, "You are my guru." So he says, "I am not a guru." So I said, "If you are not a guru, then I am a disciple." And it is that journey which started with him. It lasted 6 years. I had decided when I met him that this time I know that we only have these few years together. I didn't know when he was going to leave. But I said that before he leaves, I must be walking on my own feet. And today I want to talk of some of the things which he taught me. Previously I've talked about the breathing exercises and the Omkar. Today I want to talk a little bit about the psychological exercises. It may help us in our journey. One of the stories which really appealed to me in my years as a student was the story of the prodigal son. Where this son, we all know the story, the son takes the fortune or his share from the father and goes out into the world. And he squanders his fortune and he has no money. He has to tend to pigs. In the Bible they say swine. And all this is very symbolic. All this is very symbolic. Because in many cultures the pig is a symbol of the transformation. It eats the very lowest, but maybe it creates something very higher in itself. And when he was tending to the pigs, he said that even the servants in my father's home are better off than me. And he goes back. His father sees the son coming back and he runs halfway to meet the son. He says, "Let's have the biggest feast." The younger son feels a little left out, but the father says, "No, the person who has gone has come back home." I like to change this story a little. So I changed the story, and the story which I would change was that instead of him losing all his money, he earned a lot of money. And he got everything in life which money could give him. And at one point, he said that, "Is there anything more in life? Is there anything more? Now there's nothing more that money can give me. Then where do I search for happiness?" And this is my version of the story. Right? He says, "Let me go back." Now, did he go back to his physical father or did he go back to some other father? Is everything we read in the scriptures just sensual or is it symbolic of something of the beyond? Have we ever wondered what we were before we had a name? What is it that takes birth? What is it that seeks a mother and father and wants to borrow DNA so that it can take a physical form? So I was asking my teacher, I said, "You are my guru." And I said, "I want to experience that before somebody named me Rajan. Before I was named Rajan, somebody must have been experiencing something in life. What was that? What I was that which was experiencing something?" And after I got a name, then the center of gravity shifted from that into the name, and the name experiences everything. What was that before the name? You have to give me that experience, I told him. And this was the first conversation I had with my teacher. So we started on a journey. And the first exercise which I'm going to share with you is he asked me that for 6 months, try not to use the word I. Now, just a little bit about a student, a disciple. A disciple learns every moment. He has this aim of rising the ladder of consciousness, climbing the ladder of consciousness. And he doesn't learn when the Guru speaks. He learns more when the Guru is not speaking. The way the Guru reads the newspaper, the way he has his cup of tea, the way he relates to other people, he keeps on observing. So the discipleship is learning not just with the ears and eyes, but with every pore of the skin. You drink the teacher every moment. It is as if you're, putting the teacher in a blending machine every moment and drinking him. So the first exercise he gave is don't use the word I. Now, every moment the word I. Like I said, I've come here to sing my song. Right? The use of the word I. Can we stop using it for 6 months? Will it give us a new understanding of ourselves? Just refraining from using the word I. When we write to someone, we had no mobile phones in those days. I would send a telegram home. Where are you? I'd say, I am in Bombay. Right? Not I am in Bombay. And this effort to not to use the word I would bring consciousness every moment of our life. What happens when we don't use the word I? What happens? Can we sing our song? I did this, I did that. When two people are talking and we suddenly remember something, they're talking about how they visited the museum and you'll say, oh, I also visited. Pause. You have to pause. You have to pause. This pause is what the great yogi Patanjali calls as Nirodh. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodh. Pause. Can we pause in our life? We are going in traffic, suddenly there's a red signal, we feel irritation, can we pause? We come home, maybe the wife says there's only a sandwich in the fridge, we eat it and be happy, right? Pause. The son comes and says, I failed in the exam, can we pause? To attain to a state of non-reaction, use of the word I. So the first thing that will stop is when we go out and meet people, I did this, I did that, what we call as verbal diarrhea. Stop. And a different consciousness will come. What is our feeling of I? Suddenly we'll understand what do we feel when we use the word I? What do we feel when we use the word? Have any of us thought about this? Supposing today I win a lottery ticket and my bank balance is full. When I use the word I, does the feeling change? Supposing tomorrow I am made the president of some society or elected on some ticket somewhere. When I use the word I, does the feeling change? What do I put into the word I? Have you ever thought about it? And what do I subtract from the feeling of the word I? Supposing somebody calls me egoistic and selfish and haughty, what do? What happens? I react. What does reaction mean? What does reaction mean? Oh, tell me. That I have not included this in my feeling of I. When I use the word I have not included I am egoistic. I have not included I am selfish. So when somebody calls me selfish, it's not included in the feeling of I react. And I have included all good things in my feeling of I. And all this is imaginary. So when we practice not using the word I for 6 months, whenever we want to construct a sentence, we'll have to bring in consciousness and we'll pause and try to see how we'll arrange the words in a way where we can convey our meaning and without using the word I. So this was the first, psychological exercise which I had to do, and it has stayed with me over a long period of time. Now, after 6 months, he gave a very difficult exercise. He said, now you cannot take anything personally. Wow, this is difficult. So if somebody's put their car in my driveway, but there's nothing like my driveway, I'm not allowed to take anything personally. So I have to see it as somebody else's driveway, and as if I'm trying to help somebody else. I see that somebody has parked a car in somebody else's driveway. I go to that person. Don't you think it will be a little problem for the other person? But if it is my driveway, so he said, not to take anything personally. And this exercise lasted for a very long time. It's one of the most difficult exercises we can ever do. Now let us go through both the exercises. Supposing we don't use the word I, one very deeply embedded pattern within us is I am better than the other. And when we cannot use the word I, we are not able to express this pattern. And we suddenly become aware of that pattern within us. Try to see, we are now trying to shift from the false I to the real I, to the feeling of the real I before we had a name. So we are going through these two exercises. Now, don't take anything personally. Supposing somebody insults me, supposing somebody treats me badly, but I'm not allowed to take anything personally. Can I react? I cannot react. I have to bring in consciousness. I have to see myself as another person. He's not treating me badly, but in some movie, he's treating this guy badly. And in the movie, I would say he's a very good actor. Right? But we keep on singing these songs about ourselves, how badly we have been treated in life. Some people don't sing very easily. Maybe after 2 pegs they start singing, but they all start singing. Many of us feel that we are owed in life, that I have helped this person, I have helped that person, I have helped this person, and they have not bothered about me. Now supposing we were to get rid of the personal, Where does that leave us? God does not know accountancy. I help you, so you have to help me. Right? But we feel that we are poor in life. Many of us feel we did not get the proper chance in life. Maybe in my college days, if I had done this, then I would have got a better job. But I didn't get a proper chance. So one more exercise. We are not allowed to use the term if only. We are not allowed to use the term if only. If only I had done science instead of economics, my pay would be double just now. If only. And of course, if only I had not married this girl. If only. So a student on the path of yoga, first, he'll look at his feeling of I, try to be free of the feeling of I. Second, he will move towards from personal to non-personal, and he will realize that everything is perfect as it is. There's nothing like if only. Many people feel that the parents never understood me. My mother and father never understood me. I think a few years ago here we had a talk on what is death. And at that time we had said that the parents don't choose the child chooses the parents. Right? So there is absolutely no way that you can throw the responsibility saying that my mother and father never understood. Many people love to talk about their suffering. They love to sing about their suffering. Especially if guests have come home. Right? And after the guests go, we love to chit-chat about what they did, how they ruined so many dishes, and how the pillow covers got dirty. Right? Can you see everything in our life is personal? How are we going to experience the universe? Many people love to sing spiritual songs. How many malas I did, how many asanas I did, how many hours I sat in meditation. And meditation is the art of moving from the personal to the non-personal, but we make meditation a stepping stone to more personal. Some people love so much to talk about their suffering that their voice takes on a tragic tone. They invite tragedy in their lives. They invite suffering in their lives. Many people, they start singing songs when difficulties come in their life. They are cowed down below the difficulties. So, all this, when you see, is nothing but the feeling of I. Can we starve the I? It wants to sing the song. It wants to sing of how badly he treated me. Can we starve the I? Can we starve the ego? The whole process of dissolving the ego is nothing but fasting. Psychological fasting. Not giving its food when it wants it. Many people, they feel unappreciated. They don't realize that the life which has come to meet them has come at their own invitation. Many years ago, I had one girl come to meet me. So, I said, something is different about you. Why don't you tell me the story of your life? And she said that when I was 22, I was married, and it was a very bad marriage. And my husband was very violent. So I came back to my father's home. And my father said, I don't want you here, you go back to your husband. And I didn't know what to do, so I jumped out of the 6th floor balcony. And she broke so many bones. How she survived after jumping from 6 floors is a miracle. Right? And she went through so much of pain, and she was in the hospital. And in one of those operations, when she was in deep pain, she had some inner realization. And she saw that her husband was not hitting her. She had invited that situation where her husband was hitting her. She said, at that moment my life changed. 2 things dropped from my life completely. One, there are no complaints about anything, because if there is anything in my life at this moment, it is my responsibility. I have invited it. And the second thing, I have stopped blaming others. Let us keep a fast 2 days in the week. Thursdays we won't complain about anything. Right? First fast is Thursdays. No complaining about the weather. No complaining about the cricket team. No complaining about the president. Right? Can you refrain from complaining? The ego feeds on complaining. Just 1 day fasting. And another day fasting, no putting the blame on anyone else. 1 more fast. 1 day. Don't defend yourself. Right? I have to meet him at 10 o'clock. I'm stuck in traffic and everything. I reach at 11 o'clock. Don't defend yourself. It's a very important practice. Because truth never needs any defense. Only the false has to be defended. Can we practice 1 day in the week not defending ourselves, not defending the I? I did not want to be late. The traffic made me late. Right? Can we practice that 1 day in the week? See, these are small psychological exercises. We are doing all the asanas, we are doing the Omkar, we are doing so many things. But it is these psychological exercises which will bring about the psychological transformation, which will make the inner chitta, the inner mind ready to receive the divine.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Did you say no complaint 1 day, no defending ourselves, and what was the third one?
Not defending ourselves. And not blaming anyone else. Not blaming anyone else. Whom do we make friends with? Is it to people who listen to our song? This is a point of observation. Do we make friends with people who listen to our song, and then of course in return we have to listen to their song? And if somebody doesn't listen to our song, we feel offended. Have we ever made an exercise to find that guy who is offended? We want to get that guy who is offended inside, the guy who feels resentment inside. Have we made an exercise? Can we find that person who feels offended inside? So this a little bit on I. Now let us go to the next one, not taking things personally. How will it change our relationships? Supposing my son comes and says, I failed in the exam. The first thing, of course, I spent so much money on your, all that will come up. Suddenly the teacher's words, don't take anything personally. Will the relationship with the son change? Will the relationship with the wife change? When there is no self in the relationship, what remains in the relationship is love. You don't have to look for love, you have to just dissolve the self. Love is already there. But with self, the love attaches to the self. Dissolve the self. Dissolve the I, not personal. So, we love to take things personally. I don't like brinjals. But I like cottage cheese. So, can we go through the day? Where all have we been personal? Can we make a note of it? Where all have we been personal? He is my friend. Is there anything really like my friend? Now, if we work on the not being personal, not to take things personally, I cannot say he is my friend, but I can say I live in friendship. Now, this is very different. It's absolutely different. Now, if I live in friendship, then even if my enemy comes, I am living in friendship. Because now there is nothing personal. If it's personal, she is my enemy. Okay? I don't know if I'm coming across into all this. Right? So the effort not to take things personally. Now this will lead to a smaller practice which goes with this of living in a state of non-resentment. Non-resentment. Not to dislike. Can you see all the violence in the world is just because we dislike something? And the moment we are free of disliking anything, there can be no violence. All the aggressiveness has dissolved in our lives. Aggressiveness is a characteristic of the ego. So, you can say, maybe there are preferences in life, but I don't have any likes or dislikes. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult. Every moment life comes in through the five senses, something in us is labeling the moment like or dislike. It's so fast inside. It takes years and years of practice to come to a state where we don't label the moment like or dislike. But at least start. Make a start now. What about money? Supposing now the teacher has said, try not to take things personally. What happens to money? What happens to money? You know, at some places, I take Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. And one of the sutras is non-stealing. Non-stealing. Achura. Non-stealing. Even Mahavir in his 5 Mahavrats talks about non-stealing. What is the meaning of non-stealing? What is the meaning of non-stealing? We are on this journey from personal to non-personal. What is the meaning of non-stealing on this journey? Is it stealing? I take something from her pocket. Is that stealing? What is non-stealing? I'm not telling you to take anything from anyone's pocket. Right? What would it mean? What would it mean? When my teacher, he left his body and we had to read his will. And the first line in the will was that I never possessed anything in my life. Whatever came to me, I used as a trustee. Whatever came to me, I used as a trustee. Now when we move from our small world of I, dissolving the I to the universal, we suddenly see that there is nothing like my money. All the money comes from some central bank. We use it in our life as trustees. Right? So then what would be non-stealing when I say, this is my money? Right? Am I stealing from the central bank? It belongs to the central bank. So non-stealing is a deep subject, but we can only experience it if we make this small movement from personal to non-personal. That does not mean we don't lead our normal lives. We definitely lead our normal lives. We have our private property, we have our this, but our attitude to everything now changes. Now I remember very well during this period when he had told me that you make this effort to take nothing personally in life. Someone I knew very well had taken something from me which I really, looked after. It was something precious. And he refused to return it. And the picture of that guy would keep on coming in my mind. And I had this thing, I want to take revenge, I want to show him, he has to be put in his place, how can he do this to me, etc. And then again I would remember my teacher's word. I'm moving from the personal to the non-personal. I never owned it in the first place. Of course, the intellectual mind would sort of try to make me understand, and again I'd forget, and the emotional would come. How can he take it? How can he do this to me? Right? And this struggle was going on inside. So I went to him and I said that this struggle is going on. He said it's a very, very important struggle. Very important struggle. He said one of the most deeply embedded patterns within us is we want to take revenge on somebody else. We want to show somebody else. We want to put another person in his place. And unless you are free of that pattern, you can never forgive anyone. Forgiveness, you have to do nothing for forgiveness. Freedom from this pattern, you are in a state of forgiveness. To struggle with that pattern. So what to do? Every moment that guy would come, he has taken my most precious thing. How can he take it? He's stolen it. And I got to put him in his place. I got to show him. And again I would then remember my teacher's words. Can you understand this struggle? This is called tapa. This struggle. This inner struggle is called tapa. And at that time, I started observing that whenever I would have this feeling of putting that guy in his place, and this feeling of taking revenge upon someone, what kind of events in life would come to meet me? And this is something all of us can observe. And I would see the more I was hypnotized by that pattern of taking revenge, right? The events which would come to meet me in a life would bring a more negative quality within me. And then I came to one realization, that when we wake up in the morning, can we put a timer on our watch? That for 1 hour I will not have a single negative thought. For the first hour of the day. Rest of the day you're not. It's not fasting for the rest of the day. But for the first hour I'll make a conscious effort, making the breakfast conscious. No negative thought. If you drop the tea, no negativity, no reaction. Right? Something you see on TV, no negativity. Just make an effort. 1 hour in the day, every morning. And tell me if the quality of your life changes. You will see the events which come to meet you in your life will bring much less suffering. Just by changing that 1 hour every morning. So this is a simple practice. You don't have to sit in meditation. Get up in the morning You're allowed to think about anything but no negative thought. I want to take revenge upon her. Right? Or no aggressive thought. Try it for 1 hour every morning. And you'll be shocked at the qualitative change in your life. You will feel as if your whole future has changed. The events which were supposed to come to meet you have changed completely, as if a balance is coming in your life. Not only in your material life, in your relationship life, in your thinking life, everywhere. And I realized that when I was struggling with this pattern of revenge, by holding the pattern of revenge, the more I think of taking revenge, the more I was inviting pain in my life. And if you see Jesus as a saying, agree with your adversary whilst you are with him on the way, lest he deliver you to the judge, and the judge to the officer, and the officer puts you in prison. By holding the thought of taking revenge upon someone, we are automatically in a very deep prison. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Because we don't see that this seed which we are holding is going to bring so much of suffering in the future. It is an invitation for more suffering. And that is why the minute that pattern comes in, drop it. This dropping is called renunciation, where I'm not taking off your clothes and wearing orange clothes and going to an ashram. To be able to drop that pattern. So, when we take things from personal to non-personal, this effort we have to struggle with many things. And when you drop this one, pattern of revenge, when we are able to drop it, suddenly we will see that we forgive everyone. Forgiveness is like an inner light. Whomever comes in front of us is automatically forgiven. We cannot choose, I won't forgive her and I'll forgive her. It's not possible. There's no choice in forgiveness. Right? If there is choice, then there's something wrong. In those days, I used to be in the stock market, and I was trading moment to moment in the stock market because there were no computers in those days. And we used to go in the ring, and it was shouting and screaming. And you know how people are in the stock market; they would do this, and then they would change after some time, right? And because prices have gone up, and they don't want to fulfill their obligation. And I suddenly saw that previously, I would have been very explosive about the whole situation. Now, because I'm trying to be free of the personal, there is no resentment inside. This does not mean we politely conceal that we are feeling resentment inside and outside we wear white clothes and show, I don't feel anything. It has nothing to do with that. There's absolutely nothing to do with that. It is something which we are doing in the secret of our heart. We don't tell anyone else about it. Anybody else after a few years may feel that this person has changed. But that is his observation. It's not something we share with somebody. Where all do we feel resentment? When somebody laughs at us, do we feel resentment? If we see two people laughing in the corner, do we feel that they are laughing at me? Do we feel resentment? Can we make a list of everything we take personally? And can we see how it is spoiling our relationships in our life? Supposing we go into a group of people, can we just observe what the I is asking for? What is the I asking for? We go into a group of people. We are not looking at the people, we are looking inside. And the I is saying that please talk about me. Please talk about something so I can talk back. Have we observed this inside? Can we see when we meet these people and they talk about something about us, how we feel admired inside, how we feel good inside? All this is personal. And it takes a long period of observation to be free of all this. Now another feeling. The feeling of doing something good. I call it the feeling of meritoriousness. Supposing I give a donation. At that moment, can I drop the feeling that I have done something good? Can you see what I'm talking about? Supposing I help her in some way. At that moment, can I drop she's definitely going to say, thank you, you've done something so good. Can you or maybe we'll say, you're allowed to eat one chocolate. Right? So when she praises you, oh, you helped me, eat one chocolate, but the minute you ask for the second chocolate, drop it. Drop it. I want to be free of this feeling that I have done something good. The feeling of meritoriousness. Remember that story when we were children? Little Jack Horner sat in a corner, eating his Christmas. He put in his thumb, pulled out a plum and said, what a good boy am I. And this is what we do our whole life. What a good boy am I. I helped her. What a good boy am I. And I spend my whole life helping other people. What a good boy am I. Right? And in my office, everybody loves me. What a good boy am I. Right? Everybody is fighting in my family, but nobody fights with me. What a good boy am I. We are working for a state of higher consciousness, to be free of the ego, to dissolve the ego. All this is a part of the practice. Right? That is why today I said I'll just talk a little of the personal practices which I went through. Now, sometimes when people talk about us, especially when they criticize us, we feel as if we have been stung by a bee. And it is very beautiful if we can hold this feeling. Because we've caught that guy in the act. We've caught the guy, that inner ego, we've caught him in the act. So when somebody, and especially when they think we don't know about it. They're talking somewhere about us, and they're talking negative things about us, and we overhear it. And then we feel so hurt inside. This is the time when we catch that false eye, catch the ego. Just observe, hold that hurt. Don't run away from that hurt. Don't waste the energy of that hurt. Because in that there is deep freedom. I remember I used to have my room on the first floor, and my wife would be talking in the balcony downstairs, ground floor, with a neighbor. We had a common wall in those days. And I couldn't understand what they were saying. You know, it's just some gibberish. They're talking with each other. You can't exactly make out the words. But if one of them was to mention my name, then on the first floor I would make out. Now that is when we catch that guy in the act. We want to be free of that guy. Right? Over a period of time, we'll certainly realize that we cannot love anyone else. We only love ourselves. Supposing I say I fall in love with someone, but after some time, the very things which I was appreciating in her suddenly start feeling boring. First, it was so nice to sit with her on the garden bench and look at the moon and all that. And now it seems so stupid. Right? So the very things which used to appeal at that time now seem boring. Something has changed. Something has changed. Right? Now, can we see in that we never really loved the other person, we only loved what we love? When two people come together, do really two people come together or two dreams about each other come together? And of course the dream dies. The dream dies. In India we have this book called the Mahabharata, where this king has 101 sons. And each son, if you see the name of each son, it represents a negative psychological tendency within us. So, all of us have these 101 characters lying within us. It is our inner battle to be free of these 101. So people come to me and they say that, do I get married to this girl or not? So I say, it really doesn't matter. Whomever you're marrying 101. And marriage is a mirror. Marriage is a mirror. Do we really marry somebody else? Whom do we marry? Whom do we marry? Whom do we marry? Actually, all of us, even though the body is male or female, are really 50% male and 50% female. Because the body is male, I get my center of gravity goes into my male hood. And the inner female is like in my deep unconscious, lying there. Whom do I marry? I marry that female which is lying in my deep unconscious. I feel I am marrying somebody else. One of the laws which my guru taught me was the law of the pendulum. Law of the pendulum. And we had to observe the pendulums inside. And when it came to the law of the pendulum, we had to observe scale also. So, in everything in life, the law of the pendulum will come. I'm talking to her, and she's saying some good things about me. The pendulum is at one end. Right? But suddenly she says something which hurts me. The pendulum goes from that end to the other end. Right? I am relaxed. The pendulum is at one end. Suddenly I get a phone. This has happened. From relaxation I go to tension, the pendulum moves. In us there are thousands of pendulums. Everything is moving. In nature there are pendulums. Summer moves into winter. If summer says I want to last forever, winter says no, you can't last forever. The sea says I want to take away all the land, but the sand comes and stops the sea. Everywhere is the law of the pendulum. In the Indian philosophy, this law of the pendulum is called as Yam, the god of death. That which stops, that which resists. Life cannot go on forever. The law of the pendulum. In the stock market, I used to observe the law of the pendulum. The stock market is at 2000, and from 2000 it goes to 2200. I am happy. Now from 2200 it goes to 2400, I'm more happy. But suddenly from 2400 it goes back to 2200 and I'm sad. I say last time when it was 2200 I was happy. Now it's gone back to 2200, I am sad. The same thing. Something has changed. And this movement goes on in our life. I fall in love with somebody. The pendulum is at one extreme. After 6 months of marriage, she starts doing things which I never thought she would do, so the pendulum goes to the other extreme. But if I understood the law of the pendulum, I would know that everything that I see in her, the opposite is also lying within her. And sometime this will go back and the opposite will come out and I'm not going to feel hurt. I understand. It is the law. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? And we have to observe this law of the pendulum within us. Some pendulums are long, they take years to move from one extreme to the other. Some pendulums are very fast. We don't even know when we've gone from tension to relaxation and relaxation to tension. One phone call we are happy, next phone call we are sad. And the swing of the pendulum keeps on going. Can we be free of the pendulum? Is there a way of being free of the pendulum? Can we climb the middle of the pendulum? It's very difficult. Because the pendulum is fastest in the middle. And it is nearly zero at the extremes. And that is why we love to live in the extremes. But to hold it in the middle, that is called consciousness. And to climb the pendulum in between. So, when we make this journey, we say we don't want to take anything personal in life. And suddenly we see this law of the pendulum. I am happy, I am sad, I am in depression. Oh, life was never better. And we see this swing and we say something is there which can be free of this swing. So, we see that we love nothing but ourselves. And when we love nothing but ourselves, we have only self-will. Self-will is when we want to fulfill all our desires and ambitions. But suddenly the teacher has said, be free of the personal. Now what to do with my own desires, my own ambitions? What happens to all of that? Because that is all personal. He's not saying don't work in life. He's saying don't be aggressive about it. Change your attitude towards your ambition. You have to live a life, but change your attitude. And in changing that attitude, there is a kind of separation. Then we don't have just self-will. Some other will comes. In the Bible, this will is called Thy will be done. Thy will be done. When my will is fulfilled, when my desire is fulfilled, there is satisfaction. But in life, at any time, if I can move from my personal will, keep it on the side a little and allow His will to manifest, there is joy and bliss in becoming a medium for His will. To move from personal will to universal will. Recently I was at a marriage. So my aunt comes up to me, okay, last 20 years you've been traveling, don't you want to now stay at one place? So I said, yeah, my body is also tired and I also feel that I should stay at one place. But it is not my choice. I'm waiting for some indication from life. I said, I also realized that I don't want it to stop just because now the body cannot continue, I've grown too old. I want to stop it when I'm healthy, but I won't stop it with my personal will. I'll wait for some indication. Life gives us answers to everything. You know, people come with problems. And the solution to the problem, something in us already knows the solution to the problem. Every problem. There is something in us which already knows the solution. One of my talks once I took was how to come to a decision, because I take all these children's and youngsters' camps. I says, the decision has been made at a higher level. Can you now allow that decision which is lying deep within you to flow out and come to your conscious mind? That is the art of solving problems. You know, in the old days we used to play flippers, flippers in college. Now we don't have those flipper machines. So we would be so happy, we put the ball and the ball would go out and ting tong, ting tong, ting tong. And we would flip this way and flip that way. And at one point I realized that the ball has already decided when it wanted to go in the pocket. But it is making me feel happy. I'm pushing it this way and I'm pushing it that way. The solution to the problem is already lying somewhere within us. But we keep on using this idiot of a logical mind. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll get money from here, and I'll get money from here, and I'll do this, and I'll buy this cheaper, and I'll sell that, etc., etc. And we're just, the ball is moving ting tong from here to here, and we don't realize it has already decided. We just have to allow that decision to happen. Can we get out of our own way? So, when we work from self-will to universal will, suddenly the answers are somewhere else. They are not personal answers. They are not tinged by our personal. And I remember once somebody was in a showroom and he phoned me, I'm in the showroom of a car, I have to buy the car right now and I want to buy a red car. Can I buy a red car? You say yes. If you say yes, I'll buy the red car. And the first reaction which came within me was, how can you buy a red car? And I was also going in a car at that time and I'm opening my eyes and looking out of the windshield. The car in front of me was a red car. I said, buy a red car. It's just a simple way, but life has all the answers. So my aunt said, you better stop traveling now, you've been traveling a lot. So I said, yes, I also want to stop, but I'm waiting for the red car. Red car to tell me. Right? So, whenever we work for the personal, the ego gets satisfaction. But when we are able to put the personal on the side and allow some higher will to manifest through us, just in fulfilling that will's destiny, there is deep joy and bliss. And this bliss is our intrinsic nature. In that, allowing that higher will to manifest through us, we become one with our intrinsic nature inside. The I which came with the giving of the name, the I which came with the giving of the name, suddenly that has all dissolved and we are experiencing that I which was before, which wanted to take birth. And that is why we have come. We talk in life, I won this prize, I won that prize. Suddenly all that will become meaningless. My name came in the newspapers. All that will become meaningless. Have we ever wondered on this one point, who is it that takes birth? Why does he take birth? Why does a soul seek a human form? Have you pondered on that question? Why is he looking for a human body? Can't he fulfill his destiny without a human body? What does a human body give that soul that it can fulfill its destiny? All these are questions which we should ponder upon. What happens at the moment of death? Can we make it a practice in life to experience that moment? Can we work for our death? Like we work for a degree, we get a BA degree from our university, 23 years it takes. Right? But death is the epitome of life. Can we make an effort to work for that moment, to face that moment in the right way? Can we practice every day? All these are important questions which we should ask ourselves. One of the things which a few years ago struck me, I'm just sharing with you. What time do I have to finish? 5 minutes? 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Is something working in time and working in eternity. So, a few years ago I was sitting and contemplating, and I said, if I'm earning money tomorrow, I'm working in time. Can I do something which is not in time? Something which is in eternity? At that time I saw that my room was in a mess. And my room has always been in a mess. And when I was a kid, my mother would scold me, put your room properly. And as you get married, then the wife scolds you. Your room in order. Right? And of course, and I said, anything I do because somebody else has told me is in time. If I do my room because I'm frightened of my wife scolding me, then it is working in time. But if I develop an inner skill of putting my things in order, then I'm working in eternity. I'm able to carry that skill across. Am I coming across in this? But I cannot do it just because of something. Fear that my wife will say something, or maybe somebody will give me some money because I put my room in order, or some reward, or somebody will praise me because I put my room in order. Then it is working in time. It won't work. So we come to a stage in our life when we are 50, 55. I suppose that is at some time we should think that now I don't want to work just in time, I want to work in eternity. Now I'm looking at my son, I say my son. But can I have freedom from the personal and see him as a person? Can I develop that eye to see my wife as a person, my children as persons, free of my son? Then in developing that skill, I carry it across. What would you like to carry across? Definitely you can't carry all your bank balance and everything. What would you like to carry across? And to carry across anything, you have to do it just for the enjoyment of doing it. Anything done for reward or punishment cannot be carried across. It remains in time. Because I see quite a few of us are above 50, I think this is something which we should ponder upon. Can we work, do something at the end of the day for our eternity? Something at the end of the day. What would you like to carry across? And one final thing, I'll just finish. Have we understood something new today? Not today. Have we understood something? Ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this question when you go to sleep at night. Have I understood anything new today? Whenever we understand something, a kind of, in the old days we used to have the tube light, they would go like this, right? When we are trying that, making that effort to understand, the light of intelligence is going like this. It is trying to enlighten us. I'm not saying only spiritual things, it could be anything. But have I made an effort to understand, or have I just done the run-of-mill life from morning to evening? My job, my this, put this thing in this column and that thing in this column, finish the day, watch the TV. When I die, all those moments of understanding come together and they become one drop of perfume and they carry across. But if I have not, when we were children, of course, we had to study for exams, so there was some effort to understand something. But after passing college, make it a point, don't go to sleep at night without understanding at least one thing. Take any sentence from anywhere. But make an effort. I want that little light. I want to gather that light and go to sleep. I don't want to sleep without that light. The tube light must blink inside. The effort to understand something. And that understanding carries forward. Last, I'll just give a message on that. Many years ago, I'm talking about 30 years ago, we were reading a book. And we had a small group when we were reading the book. And I remember used to make a great effort to understand each page of the book. I would read it 10 times, 20 times. And I'm wondering, there's this guy in the book, he was a cousin of mine, a guy in the group, and he reads it once and he's able to explain it all to us. I said, what's this? I'm making so much of effort and he just understands it immediately. And then I realized that we gather moments of understanding. At the moment of death, all that understanding comes together and it crosses across time. And next time, we'll see the page and we'll understand immediately because we've got that intensity of understanding. We have worked in eternity, not in time. Working for your eternity. So all those who are above 50, maybe this would be something to ponder about. I'll stop over here, my time is over. I thought today I'll just share things which I have done in my life. I didn't take any fixed subject to talk about. Some things which happened between my teacher and me, and some of the psychological exercises which I did. Just a bit of sharing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening. You'll have to talk. I'm not getting your voice completely. Can you come a little closer if you don't mind? I don't want to disturb this. Yeah. If you don't mind. Sorry. Yeah.
All the letters. See, at the very last part,
Yeah.
you mentioned that if you try to learn and understand something deeply, at least everyone could be asleep,
Yeah.
it would help us to carry or cross over when it comes to the time of living this life.
Yeah.
Okay. Just for myself, I need to hear some more examples, just a couple examples of life things. Example, I read about medicine. Is that something that would help me, or it has to be something spiritual?
Okay. Please, you can sit down anywhere.
Thank you.
Yeah. Supposing I've gone to school, right? And my teacher says 2 and 2 make 4.
Right.
I have not understood. I memorized it. Right? But then she says, this is 1, this is 1, this is 1, this is 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. And suddenly it clicks inside. That clicking is important. You understand?
Yes.
Right? So it could be in anything. It could be in anything. Because in that clicking I have gathered some light.
I see.
I have gathered some light. It's a drop in the ocean. But I have gathered some light. Right? Now, as I grew in school, in my young days, in my days when I'm, still raw, I have to understand so many things about life. So the moments of understanding, they are grouped. After some time, I am now leading a more or less mechanical life. Right? I spend the rest of my day after office watching the TV or something. So I am not understanding anything new. Right? So something before I go to sleep at night, I make an effort. Even if I don't understand, the very effort to understand something. It could be anything. It could be anything. But you must feel as if something is enlightened inside. I got it. I got it. You go to sleep. Then you go to sleep. You understand? And that moment gathers. All that light gathers. And the moment of death, that light becomes one light. And we want that. No? Because that's the real capital which we are going to take across. No? Not my bank balance. But that's my real bank balance.
Sure.
No?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.